hello, welcome to a brand new episode of Tea With Tay pod. You know, see the tea no hot, then it's not Tea With Tay. I'm working to please you guys, and today this tea is about to be really hot. Yeah. So today my guest is a 6-foot Amazon from Morey who's not afraid to assert herself. She's a businesswoman, a model, an entrepreneur, an actress, and a reality star. Ladies and gentlemen, the diva, Faith Morrey.
Oh, and she's a philanthropist also.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I apologize. And philanthropist. I mean, Faith, you be diva. Faith, you came here 1 hour late. If you be saying that you, I no go agree.
Yeah. Timmy,
tell me.
That's what you do when you jet set. But I'm so sorry. I have to apologize. That's the first thing I did. Apologies for keeping you waiting.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping to make it work for you.
Of course, you have to give me the tea on this podcast. You know, that's the only way I can let this slide.
Okay, I'm sipping one.
You know, because she's a little polite, you know, so let me just let this one go. You apologize, so I will let it go. Harry, you so proper, so well sad. Since let me just scatter my body for my podcast. You know, go use blankets. Okay, drinks, sip some. How do you want to sip, Faith? Wait, we sip here differently. Don't do this your etiquette thing with me. That's all this. Cheers to you.
Don't cling.
Is that what they do?
No, but
we don't cling.
No.
You don't cling teacups.
No. Even champagne or tea or wine glass, you want just a little bit. It's not a bell. You're not ringing a bell though.
Why?
I know, right?
I'm in trouble in this episode. Okay, so what do I have to do? Bring it closer?
But you got to look at me. Salute.
Oh, because that's like years of bad sex, right? That's what they say, right?
It doesn't have to be that.
Okay. So let me
just
look into your eyes. Oh,
tea.
Please, when I'm ready to go to finishing school, I will call you, but now, let me see, do I like? Welcome to my podcast, Faith Morey. A round of applause for my guests. Oh, is that how they taught you put the class? Is it because she's here? Thank you so much, Faith, for coming through.
Thank you, T, for having me.
I've been great. How have you been?
Good. Life has been great. I think one thing we always forget to do is grateful being alive.
Right.
We're always chasing the next paycheck. So
tell me about it. If you live in this Lagos, you're chasing every check.
Yes,
right?
yes.
When your manager said you're coming on the podcast, I was so excited because I'd never really seen you anywhere humanized, like had a conversation with anybody. I feel like the only time I've seen you were those clips, and the only thing I remember is the 6-foot Amazon from Morey. I'm like, wherever she got that line from, I'm gagged. So let's talk about this 6-foot Amazon from Morey.
Okay.
Yeah. Tell me about you and your background, Morey, and where you're from.
So my name is Faith Morey. You guys already know. I'm from Port Harcourt, Morey, a line of Moreys. So normally where I'm from, when they know where you're coming from, they go, where's the cutlass? That's why I had that comment. It would take more than 10 of you to put me down, honey. So, but again, it's been a lovely one from a very humble beginning. When I mean humble, people understand where you had to ration out water between drinking and taking a shower and cooking. But I had my grandma. She had 12 kids, took care of 4 of us. It was a lovely experience growing up, but also it was the survival of the fittest. Yeah.
I was also raised by my grandma, so I can relate to you, and maybe not that level of, sharing water, because my grandma was okay, but as a child that was raised by their grandma in Port Harcourt, it's almost similar to me being raised in Morey, right? And I really want to hear your own story and, that dynamic.
So I always tell people, like, if you come to Lagos, especially, any girl you ask is going to tell you, my mom is a diplomat, my dad was a this. Girl, right? I am a walking testimony of where you're born is not your end story. I might not be born with a golden spoon, but I can eat with a diamond honey right now. So I don't like honey. So sorry.
Focus on stats now.
Well, like, yes, it was I have to relieve it each time, especially when I'm speaking to my son. I didn't want him to know where he's coming from. So basically, we were 4 of us. My mom had to travel overseas for a better life for us. Dad had multiple wives, multiple kids. We're still finding out some of his kids even after 14 years of him, passing away and leaving us here. But I had uncles, aunties. I played basketball. My grandmother used to do shot puts, and she was actually qualified to play shot put for Olympics. Yeah. But of course, we're very traditional where we're coming from. My grandfather said, who's going to take care of your kids? So she had to choose between that. Right. So when I came up playing, showing interest in any sports, grandma always had me there. I went to Beraton and Port Harcourt Primary. So if they put me on your queue to run, even the boys would be like, nah, no, not her, So playing basketball kind of got me out of, that depression, and people don't talk about as kids, they'll go, what are you even worried about? It's we adults. No, we do worry about stuff, right? We were sleeping in one little bed, the 4 of us, and there used to be this Jesus Christ poster. And because my grandmother was a very religious person, so we wake up 5:30 for morning devotion. She goes to my one market to sell. She comes back, sells water, borehole water in front. By, I think, 9:30, we are also going to school, taking the bus. When I mean bus, I don't mean school bus. We're taking like the bus that will take you to the market area that you have to walk down to the school, After that, most people, you're having them with real lunch. You're seeing these kids like coming out. That's what you smell when you watch TV, But we literally, those round bread. You're from Morrey, so yes, when in the morning we have to wait outside for them to come out, and then you just press it in like this. That's just like a little cookie, And we were happy. We were happy because we had the 4 of us, and till today, my younger ones and I we're cliques. People always say, Faith, you don't have friends. Those are my friends, So going back home every day used to be a tough one, because for me, I wanted to stay back in school because I didn't have to remember or leave my reality, basically, right? Grandma was the best as she could. We'll go to church. And I think around the age of 10, our neighbor got TV. And I used to watch TV through his window. And I'll never forget. Oh, yeah. And when you're not nice to them, they would close the window. And then you have to literally...
When you beg them, you're nice, you're doing extra things for them.
Oh, yeah, you have to be very nice, So I dreamt about going to Times Square from my neighbor's window. I said, I want to go to that place where you're having this one.
I can relate.
Yeah, I want to go to that place where I don't have to worry about lights. Because 3 months, there's no lights. And I don't know if you know, but Port Harcourt, you know what they call empanaka? Okay, so see, you shook your head like, nah. When I mean humble beginning, that's what I mean. Yeah. Candle was too expensive. So you have like a tin, and they will cut it into 2. They will have a wool, and they'll put kerosene in it.
Yeah, I know that candle because the sellers on the road use it.
Market women.
Market women.
Yeah, so you read with that, you cook with that, and of course you can't sleep with that. So we sleep to bed, cry to bed, and and I remember like when light comes after like 2-3 months, adults and kids are all running on the street like, light don't come. And guess what? 5 minutes later, the light's gone. It just give a little hope, And then not just me, this little kid, 10 years old, watching TV, and you've been to Times Square before. That's a lot of light. Like, I want to go there where I don't have to worry about light. And that's how my dream started.
Girl, when I asked for the tea, I didn't know what was like. This is crazy, right? So there's so many things I can relate to, especially because I was an ambitious kid in a space where that level of ambition was too much for them. It was as if I was overreaching.
Oh yeah.
Right? But just something about me that wasn't going to be stuck in worry, or like not like my granny didn't have means, but it just wasn't.
Well, you envision for yourself. Yeah.
But it's something that you said that really stuck out for me, that you were happy with what your granny could give you guys. And as a child, you really don't know. I mean, you can feel that this lack.
Yeah.
But it's just, you're happy because, at the end of the day, you have your family, your siblings.
But you're living in Afibo. And 10 minutes away, your friends are living the water side where they don't even have toilets. They poop in the same place they have to take water. So I was grateful, and I didn't have to have my younger ones get separated, because that was the problem too, is that they will have to give your kids to like different
aunties,
relatives.
yeah.
Like, did you know what it was going to school? I had to back Emmanuel. Emmanuel works in a hospital, one of the biggest hospitals in Dallas right now, and I'll have to have Lizzie in the front. Lizzie works in an IT company in Atlanta right now with
siblings.
2 kids, and then I'll have to hold my stubborn Victor. That's the one everybody knows as Oga Senator. I will walk more than 5 miles to school. That's my reality. So when someone tells me, who do you think you are? Or China, I tell you, honey, nobody's gonna make me play small.
Right.
I saw it all. They'll take me to church and they'll pray night vigil because I was possessed, marine spirits.
Wait, I'm going to get into marine spirit, because I can tell why they will say you're full of marine spirits, right? Because any child that was different.
Oh yes.
Was an anomaly. They didn't have a word for that child. They just tagged you as an evil spirit, right?
Yeah.
But you know the beautiful thing about television, and that's why I'm who I am today. I feel like what television did for kids like us, it transported us into a different world.
Yeah.
Where we could dream. It was like dreaming. Like one of the things I was really big on was books and novels, and that transported me to another life. But TV.
You're saying it.
What TV did for me was that there's people who are living these lives somewhere. So, but the thing about it is that you're a child in Afikpo, right?
Yeah. Afikpo,
sorry.
They're going to come, Port Harcourt people.
So sorry,
they are very
people.
passionate.
I love them, they're my people. So, it's one thing to see these things and think that, okay, this is the life I want to live. But you're so far away from it.
Oh, yeah.
What is that thing in you that said, you know what, regardless of the reality, the no lights, the backing your siblings to work, how did you think that this dream was ever going to come to pass?
I don't even up to today, like I go to offices like 20 times, they see my face in like 1 week. I'll look pretty and come out looking sweaty, and I'm still not going to go until you open the door. Like Steve Harvey used to say something. He said, why tell your dream to a small-minded people? Like it took me up, like when my son was 7 and we had to move to California, where I said, when I was dreaming, by the way, I started from New York, right? And I said, I watch reality TV. And I said, why are they riding that car? Why are they leaving that house? My grandmother used to say, those ones, so they do that thing, no get too head. Oh no, they don't. Why are they in Malibu, sitting by the beach, drinking pina colada with their kid? Why can't my son and I fly first class when I have him? So, honey, it was either that or nothing else.
You know that's the way you talk. I feel like I get ambition. Can you be ambition? Okay, so let's dial it back, right?
Okay.
So, young girl, I heard that you went into basketball at some point,
Yeah.
right? You know, was it secondary school? Did somebody scout you?
No.
How did this come about?
Okay. People have playgrounds. People have playmates, play dates. We had, where we're living, you had abandoned mechanic stores that would have those trailers, the big trailers that they're not going to do anything with it. We'd jump around. That was our playgrounds.
Right.
And then when the militants started, we were dodging bullets. Right?
Excuse me?
Yeah, because you could just literally be out playing and then you hear, and what they did then was they would drive into, pick the young kids,
To co-opt them into...
Oh, yeah.
Jehovah.
Yeah. So for me, again, for girls too, I don't hear anybody's hustle. It was either that for the boys or girls, you got to go streetwalker, right? My grandma would probably leave on my head with Bible if I ever tried that.
Yes.
I was that kid that I couldn't wear trousers. I'll have to wear like a long dress and then get halfway.
To cover you.
Take it off.
Because she wanted to protect
God forgive me. Yes. Yeah. So basketball was my way. I took away STEAM. So UST is close to my one. So I would go to UST and I would see boys playing. I used to be like a real tomboy. I played basketball with boys. I still play basketball with my brother, and I just fell in love with it because I didn't have to cry. I ran fast. You didn't have to think. You're playing with dudes that And then I was so flat that I think that they forgot, right? So we were getting into it, like really playing.
So you're the girl's guy.
That was my life.
Guy's girl, yeah.
Guy's girl, yeah. And I'll go back home. I felt seen whenever I was on the track running in school. Everybody knew, especially the wealthy girls wanted me to be on their team because they knew I was going to get it. So for the boys, like, it wasn't anything. By the way, not that way, because my grandma used to say, if a guy touches you, get pregnant. And I'll never forget when a mom mistakenly thought, I held him. You don't give me Yes.
The mothers took back there just to protect the kids.
Yeah. Then the whole cut of guys, they had to stand like, girl, leave her. I say,
touch me.
They had to call my grandmother. Big mama was like, I cheat to leave him. Oh yeah, I don't touch you now. Nothing go. It don't go.
The mother, like, actress, please. The drama.
Yeah. So basketball was my way out of where I was. I wanted to leave. I didn't know how. Right. So I saw, in town, we're playing in UST, and then the boys were like, hey, in Morrey, there are scouters that used to come every year. So it would be the WNBAs. They'll have Nigerians probably 1 or 2 Nigerians that were there. They'll come with like clean sneakers. They will do like a boot camp. If you came first, they will sponsor you, this, but not leaving the country. It was just like for you to play into like a next team or something. So for me, that was still a clean sneakers. And I wear a size 11. My shoes, my toes were flapping the floors because I didn't have my shoe size, right? And I had to wear the same shoe for like a year. And as a growing kid, I'm sorry, you wouldn't be able to get that until my mom was able to send shoes, overseas for another 1 year. So went to Morrey, and the boys, they did like me because, we're talking, girls didn't like me, but there's a particular girl called Tasha, and she was like their jebota, but she could play basketball because she went to Jeffty. Went to school in Igrita. And when they get head to head, she was like, I heard you were good. We played, and during the break, talking about modeling, there was a fashion week, and TV again is, I always tell people, what you read and what you watch shapes your heart. That's where I saw Naomi Campbell for the first time. And I said, I want to be like that lady that doesn't care who you are. You pay ticket to watch her. Like, I might be eating fufu on the street, like on the backstage. And when I'm on that stage,
I'm that girl.
I'm that girl. You don't have a choice.
Faith. This is so much to unpack. But so I'm trying to look at your background and the kind of teenager that background created.
Yeah.
So this is you from that humble background, size 11, which is already awkward for the other girls. You're taller than the other girls.
Oh, yeah.
You don't fit into that space.
No, you don't.
There's also much money to buy new shoes and do the things that teenagers would do to oppress themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Did that eat at your self-esteem?
It didn't, because my grandfather used to teach us, like, I still said it the other day when we were in Abuja. We're trying to get like a designer, and she was calling 10 million naira for a dress. I said, see, my grandmother said there's Taylor and there's Obioma. If you're from Port Harcourt, you know what Obioma means.
Obioma and Taylor, what did it will not go carry for hit shoulder? They'll call it hit them.
It's not what you wear, it's how you wear it.
Right.
Have you ever worn a $20 dress and go out? And those folks who have like the whole label looking like a whole Gucci billboard.
My friend, all I wore was $20 clothes.
And guess what?
I always look better than them.
Child.
And I think it was just who I was. Yeah, I didn't need to do too much.
And for me, I wanted to prove to people, especially where I was coming from, that it's possible. Even as an adult, like I had someone that told me that you watch, that's TV, that's not real. I said, my grandmother said they don't have 2 heads. It's possible. I said, I don't need a green grass. I just need a grass, whether green, black, purple. Honey, I have a whole farmland right now.
I need textbook bag. I need a whole notepad for all of these liners. Right, but okay.
Where to start from? Take it
There's so much I want to get into, right?
But you said be real.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that you are here doing this with me.
Thank you.
And the story is so real that I connect deeply. And that's why I want to ask more questions, right?
That's okay.
Okay, so let's get into modeling, right?
Okay.
Because I feel like for a lot of us, modeling was our first outlet. For me, modeling was my first outlet. Modeling was the first thing that made them see me. Speaking came later, talking came later.
Yeah.
But being seen, and also I was a little like, I didn't fit in as well. So
Yeah, a little bit timid.
Yeah, timid because I didn't fit in. I was a little effeminate, right?
Yeah.
So the only industry that saw me for the first time was modeling. And that industry groomed me and made me more confident. Please, how did modeling happen for you?
So like I said, I was we're having a break during the basketball game, and it was just a quick advert, literally quick one. And if you ever watch Naomi Campbell walk down, girl.
Stunning.
It's like, who are you? You came here to see me. Like, hi.
Yeah.
You're on your phone, sorry, but you already paid the money, you know.
You will watch.
So like I said, I was a tomboy. So how was I going to go from basketball sneakers to heels? Or cricker. So I would save all the money your aunties would give to you when their boyfriends come, you know, and I got okrika heels. But I couldn't wear it because remember, I'm from a really religious family that you're not supposed to wear all that. So at night, when everybody was sleeping, in a little passage, if anyone was watching my video when I took my son to where I'm coming from, and by the way, he said, "Mama, I thought it was like an Airbnb in a cabin." Yeah, girl. It's a little passage, and I'll do that, you know. And I remember my brother Victor, he would say, "Chitro." He said, "Whatever you want to be, you will become that." You know.
Hold you there for a second. I'm teary-eyed because my modeling career. So when I was much younger, I knew I was going to be a model. I just didn't know how. Right. So thankfully, my granny had bought DSTV at the time, and there was fashion TV, fashion men at the time. So they would have all this there. F-Men Milan, F-Men Paris.
Wow. Okay.
So before I go to school in the morning, I would record that part.
You had DSTV. Time to record.
No, so we had PVR. There's the decoder called PVR.
I'm just asking. Because you, if it was us, you worried about lining up in the gutter to take your shower just on time for you to get to school. So you were recording. You were recording.
I'm so grateful.
I like that. It's like fashion. It's a men's fashion week. Okay.
I was still with my granny. Like we were not living with our parents, but we were lucky that my granny has some means to just shock.
Let's go to the recording part.
So I record this thing. And I'll go to school. My granny was grooming me to be an engineer. So all of that craziness I was trying to do.
Yeah.
So one night, I can never forget, it's still in my head. So my granny, it was like 11, 12. So everybody had gone to sleep because we sleep early because we're going to school the next day. Now I can't go play my F-men. I can't walk up past my parlor. So my granny thought I was doing maybe like, you know, where we come from, witches and wizards, they're a big deal. So my granny stood for like 30 minutes thinking that I was performing some, so I could walk, you know.
She thought you were possessed.
She thought I was possessed.
Did she call the pastor? Yeah.
No, so she just started, they call me Ima that time. She's like, Ima, what did you do? So I was so shocked. So I walked away from the TV so she could see what was happening. I'm like, Mommy, I want to be a model. She looked really different. She's like, you perform. I be like, off the TV when you go sleep. And I never did, but I always in school, so I would try, you know, I always held the dream. And one of the things that I would say is that I didn't let anybody take the dream from me at the time. So please, back to you. That's why I'm like, how do we have similar stories?
I think it's just the South.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Our parents are very involved. You're not even thinking about going to you're more thinking about going to church and going to school. Yes. And you're right. It was either being a lawyer, an engineer, a doctor. If they're like, okay, you can be a banker. Yeah. It was kind of like that. Yeah, you know. I remember when I said I wanted to be a criminal lawyer, they had a family meeting. Like, so you want to go join police now?
People,
you know, so
and we stress about these things.
Oh yeah. You when they call a family meeting on you know you're in trouble, right? So literally, I'll say for modeling, I didn't tell any of them because I knew it wasn't going to work. I just told my younger ones, and there was this pastor at that time, Chris Yakulumi. He used to have this, you know, every Sunday, and he said, "Put on your wall whatever amount you want to make." I didn't have a bank account then. my mates probably, they had passports, they've been traveling. I just put what I wanted to, where I wanted to be. I knew I was born. I always tell myself, this is not where I'm supposed to be born. Like, I'm in America already. And that's why I don't blame them for taking me to church, to be honest, because I said it with so much confidence. This is a girl that I've never left Dube. Like, when I did Nigerian Next Supermodel and they were having an interview one-on-one and they were asking, what countries have you been to? Honey, they were calling like Miami, this, that. It was Ghana, and we had to take school trip, and we spent more time in Cotonou border.
Get there.
Yeah, but how did I get prepared? I was watching TV shows that places I wanted to go to. So I started walking the walk. I started talking the talk. I started writing down dreams. I have a whole bucket list since I was age of 15. And I always tell people, like, what is in your bucket? Bucket list doesn't need, it's just recently now people say it's, what they call it, the fancy name they call it now, New Year resolution, you know, but I knew where I wanted to go. When I see all this stuff, now parents used to watch Telemundo then, but you couldn't watch it as a kid, right? So that's the only time they would give you like shortbread. Oh, child. Yeah.
Shortbread.
Yeah. And you have to eat like long, you're 4, so make sure nobody takes bacon in it. Yeah.
You've lived.
Darling.
You know what? Like, so when you're from South and you have such dreams, they cannot stand that audacity. Now my cousins, they tell me, say, yes, you really talk another, that's how you go be, that's how you go be. But then it was hell for me because nobody also was encouraging you at the time. So it was you and your dream and the rest of the world.
Someone I saw as my person told me I was going to get pregnant in secondary school and drop out. And I made sure I flew the whole family the day of my wedding from Port Harcourt to Lagos to sit in the front row to watch me get married. Do you know that's a great flex?
Your revenge. Your revenge is revenge for forever.
Yeah.
It gets you.
Yeah. You're not God. I always tell people you're not God. So yes, growing up, it was not that easy. For modeling, I had to, there was Miss Et then. And I can't remember, she's from Okrika. She had the whole Miss Et stuff going on. And if you wanted to be a model, that was it. Now, as at that time, I thought when you're going through, Rumola, Rumokoro, like the boutiques then had all these models. So we used to think there were models that they would have like a whole photo shoot and have them on there. We didn't know they had to print them out. So I had a friend, I called myself Bella, because again, like I said, I was already preparing, and she called herself Christy. So we'll walk from Afipo to like D-Line, GRA, stopping like Rumola, looking for like, boutiques, and we'll tell them like, we want to be a model. They'll be looking at us like this, like, because they were just Igbo guys that, they were printing out pictures. They didn't understand. Finally, I got an audition to Miss Et. And
so was Miss Earth your first, was that how you scouted?
No, it wasn't like a big audition. They just said, hey, you can come, because normally they'll tell you to come visit, if they pick you, then they'll have a whole,
So by this time you're already a model? I
was not, honey. I was still wearing palm slippers.
Model, like, I want that first story. Please give me that first story. When you got your, I don't know if it was a scout or you went for an audition.
I went for an audition.
In Port Harcourt?
In Port Harcourt. And Moses, I can't remember what he calls himself now.
Moses Obite.
No, Obite. Moachi.
Yeah.
Moachi saw me and told me I was wasting here.
God bless Moachi.
Yeah. And I took a night bus because I had just 2 days to audition for Miss Nigeria. And I'll never forget 2 of my other friends, of course, Christy, she also wanted to, but it wasn't a show. When he told me during the audition, I didn't do the show. I had 2 days to be in Lagos. I wasn't going to have my grandmother. I can't tell her.
How old were you then?
I think about 16. About 16 then.
Moses already clocked you then?
Yeah. There's
always been that person.
Yeah,
Moses
but I always thought I never like gatekeep. Like if I will give you your kudos, if and he was that person. And there's a photographer that changed my life forever during the audition for Miss Nigeria. And of course, they chose there at that time, you had to be light skinned, right? And they called me by the side and said, can you? I said, so how am I going to explain to my grandma where I've been to in 3 days and you want me to rub cream? At least I was hoping to get picked. Then when I go home, they'll call my grandma and, I had all this stuff in my head.
So English?
Yes.
3 days action I give you, like 3 days cream?
No, not 3. They were asking me if I would be able to.
Lights him up a bit.
But remember then, I left Port Harcourt 3 days ago I took a bus all the way to Lagos for this audition. So I was going to go back after 3 days and do what with bleaching cream. Do you know what we're rubbing there? My grandmother used to give us roll-on to share. You know, so like cream wear, you know. So I just knew that was it. Broke down. The camera guy, Dozie, I can't remember his last name, but Dozie walked up to me and said, I'll take you to a woman that will not ask you for anything apart from you being you. Joan Okorodudu.
I see models.
Yes.
An icon. Where's she now?
Kenya, New York. She's actually partnering
She's still
with
in the industry.
Oh yeah, but not in Lagos. Nigeria, they're not enjoying they don't know what they have. So she's been working. Most of her models, just like Aisha, Bello, Dine, or Feud model also, they're internationally, you know, working with like Burberry, Gucci, Ralph Lauren's, you know.
She was the OG of the
she
industry.
still is. And that's one thing, if you're a model and you want to do something similar, she would bless you. And most people don't do that. When you grow that next level, you know, they try to hold you down.
I remember her I had a show in Morey called African Next.
It's Nigeria Next Supermodel. They did African.
African fashion.
Oh, that means you're a little kid. How old are you?
I'm 28.
Okay, yeah, that's why.
Girl, bye. Bye. Yeah, I know that you guys were the sets before me.
Like Brian. I call him Uncle Brian till now because Brian was
groomer.
he was high, he was older. Uti, they were
Yes.
I'm not well.
You know, we came much later.
Yeah.
But we also knew of so when we came, Auntie Joanne was already top of her game.
Yes.
So if you had to lobby to get to Auntie Joanne's
front,
you know. So I remember there's an event that she had in Morey. And luckily, I was around there during holiday. I just auditioned.
Excuse me.
Yeah, see, I've posted the picture some days ago.
Really?
I was so skinny and so... Girl.
I was showing my PA my picture in University of Abuja, and she was like, "That's not me. You were... I was bigger than you." I was like, "Yeah." But the minute I walked in, Auntie Joanne, and if you know Auntie Joanne, you will sell like a bag of potato. New York. She'll call somebody, "Brian, come, Boomy, come and see her. South Africa, you're going. Cape Town Fashion Week." And guess what? She kept to her word.
Hold it there. The query girl.
Yeah.
3 days in Lagos. Devastated about the fact that she couldn't do Miss Nigeria. This nice guy brings you to Auntie Joanne. And that's when your life changes or begins.
That's the beginning of my life. That was when I knew I wasn't crazy for dreaming big. That was because Auntie Joanne was also a Miss USA in the US, you know. In her time. Not in Nigeria, in the US. Yes.
Oh, so she was already about that life.
She was. So you're seeing this lady that after everything is coming back, and you're having people from all over Nigeria coming in, and she would take you in. Auntie Joanne used to have a spa. She turned her spa into a hostel for girls. Auntie Joanne will be walking on the street and she will pick someone selling and said, "You will sell in South Africa. New York Fashion Week. Let's go."
And you know one thing that really hurts me now is that modeling is not as heavy as it used to be back then.
Yeah.
There were girls that modeling changed their lives. There were girls who were on the streets who, I remember I knew one scout at the time, he would take the bus intentionally. Ingridio's Day, as he catch you.
That's
it.
it.
With him. He would beg you go to your parents, you know. And a lot of girls, their lives were changed.
Yeah.
So I don't know why it's not the same anymore now. Would you ever consider doing an agency?
No, I don't think so. I think, my way of serving and giving back is education.
Right.
And that's what I do with Okachi Charity Foundation. Right. Early age education. I wish I had the privilege to get a lot of these things that my son do have right now. And that's why I want to give people back. Now, if it's coming to, like, say, mentorship during, like, you know, when they're having, like, Aisha has Bello, she has star models. And we've talked about, hey, why don't you come in when the girls are there to kind of speak to them, you know? So, because sometimes they forget. And that's what people do. And most people used to tell me, like, "You're from California, why are you acting?" I said, "My grandmother will kill me." I started having tattoos after she passed. I couldn't. I can't go see my grandma like this. Like, am I with nails? And you will see this girl in the airport. By the time we get there, you see bathrooms.
Yes, there's still that. So look, I fear. I think it's the only person I still fear, my grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom is alive, so
Yeah.
yesterday we're in Abuja, and she was like, I told you to go to Pastor Sama's church. I said, Mommy, we are send me video. Tessie, send me video. We had the video, sent her. Okay, you would tell me all about it. How was the announcing service? And she would call. When I was shooting the Housewives, my mom was there. When we went to the spa, my mom was in the car half the time. That's the way we were raised. You have family around you. So I'm not about to go crazy. My mom would call me and say, my Peking,
What did you do?
cover, close it.
What did you do?
Yeah. Then I was married when I got it done. Now, so like, you can't. Yo.
I love that you still have that hold from your
Yeah.
family. So let's talk about when your life changed. So this is Auntie Joanne who has scouted you. Do you really believe that she meant what she was saying, or you were just like, okay, let's see how this goes?
You had to do Nigeria Next Supermodel. That means she was the OG of Big Brother. Because remember, she would move you from Ikoyi was where they had the whole thing to somewhere else. And we all stay in a house for like, I think a month.
Right.
So they groom you, they teach you how to walk, how to eat, designers are coming in to see, different people. So and then they audition folks out, like kick them out every week. And so, and then the finalists will now have the fashion show, the main show. And she had plugs and still does, like in South Africa, like you have David Atra, Cape models, they will come in and they will be the ones to pick first, second, and third because they know that they can work with those ones. That's what they're looking for, right? I got kicked out. I think third week, yes. I was first of all, the fact I survived 1 week was a lot.
Green.
Yeah, because a lot of them, that's the life. They lived in Lagos. Remember, nobody in my home, apart from my mom then, that had to go back, lived in Lagos. It's just now my family are deciding to immigrate. People who are in Port Harcourt don't leave Port Harcourt. They marry there, have kids there. That is just the way it is. So it's just now that our generation are beginning to I want to see what's out there. Yeah. If this person can make it, I can make it, right? Yes. So my own time, the third week I got kicked out, and the chaperone, Auntie Meg, Auntie Juliet, Morgan, they were like, if she goes, we go.
Stop it.
Yeah. If Auntie Joanne is watching, first of all, I was crying. Because I left University of Abuja diploma. My grandmother did not know.
Uni.
Yes. I took a bus again, honey. Mm-hmm.
How many hours? Like 9?
9 what? You have to go through Lokoja. You know that, right? You're talking about 11 plus hours overnight. Then they used to rob. Do you know how many times we had to sleep in the bush because they were robbing?
The dream. So when I look at my life now, and when people think that I just erupted from somewhere, it really hurts me because there were things that I did I cannot do now because I really wanted this dream. I remember when there was a long holiday. I hope my granny doesn't watch this because I've never said it. We had strike in Unilag. And it was like 6 months or like 8 months, right? But I'd auditioned for LFDW. I was coming to audition for LFDW, but I was on holiday, I was in Morey. So I told my granny they already paid me that if I don't come for that audition, they will sue me. So my granny was so pissed. I was like 17. So my granny said, since they already pay you, I will drop you for that pack. So she drove me to the pack, dropped me. I already had savings. I had like 20K.
Yeah. Oh, you had? Okay.
Wait,
your grandmother dropped you off in the pack.
She dropped me up pissed because my granny was...
Wait, you took money. She didn't ask you where the money was. You send it back.
No, I didn't take money from her.
No. You said they paid you. That's what you told her, right?
I told her that they already paid my agent.
Okay. So how did she know your agent? I'm trying to get to something.
So by the first year, I knew what I wanted to do when I got to Unilag, right? Okay. So by my first year of Unilag, I was already signed to Beth.
Oh. Okay. So she already knew.
So she knew, but she didn't approve of it. But I was also very brilliant. So it was a thing where as long as your grades are okay, you're going to school. So I had Beth, but I was signed for Beth for a whole year. Nothing was happening. So I'm just like, I'm going to take myself out and find this thing myself. So, but long holiday don't come. Audition in October, actually September against October for LFD. And there was LFD and another one, Music Miss Runway. So my goal be say, if I don't get one, I'll get the other one, right? So So she was angry. I told her that I don't want to get into trouble. So you know what? She was so angry. She dropped me at the park. I had only 20K. I believed myself so much that
You have to.
if Ellie does not pick me, one will pick me. I
Yeah.
think the money was like 70K or 100K or 150. I can't remember at the time, but that was big deal to me that you pay me to walk on the runway.
You got paid in assets.
I don't get mine. I never did. You just finish now.
Okay.
Wait now. So I entered boss. So boss that time, I mean like 3,500 or 4,000. So you know, see the 20K don't they go like this. So. But thankfully, my hostel was open, so I went to the hostel. So my goal was that, worst case, I'll bring the 100K, but at least I think that's my granny 20K. Say this and the money where I make cool. My sister, that's how I reached the first audition, LFD. I waka. No pick me. I can't even go outside, go change my shirt. Because we used to do that time when maybe we're not going to we'll just say maybe.
But you would stand out though.
No. The thing was, I was skinny and there were other people ahead of me. I was a new face,
so you probably thought that they'll forget about you.
So I thought that if I switch up my look, you know, so I go well on that shirt. So I change my shirts, wear tank top, you know, come back, waka. Just truly. Remember, see, to reach that LDW, I don't spend like maybe another 3,000. I don't chop gala. I don't, you know, that time with the hustle.
Yeah.
So Music Makes Runway came after. I was still looking forward to it. But by that time, I had only like 10,000 naira or 8,000. My sister. That's why I work out. They did not pick me. I almost died.
Oh, you're going to go home.
My sister, I had only 6,000 naira left, but I could not call back home, say. You know the gag? At the hotel, they stole my phone, my BlackBerry where they manage. So, I cried. No can cry when I don't cry. I can't even tell you how I got out of that mess, but I vowed that this life, I will make it.
Yeah.
So it's that hunger that like, you know that level, I don't think I've seen that level of hunger in my generation, of this generation now.
Yeah.
Where you want something so bad that's against all odds.
Yes.
Because I had no business being in school. I was good. If I'd stayed in Morey, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
But I really wanted this thing so bad, just like you.
Yeah.
So like them saying, they were not, I don't know what you did to them because my own time was different. Saying they were not going to.
No, but the thing is, we're models. Everybody was against everyone. But the fear was, I was a competitor to them. So if Faith is going, so what's the standard? I think that was the fear. Do you understand? Right. We were like Masha, we had Portia. We were like 4 of us that people just thought this was going to be the top 3. And then one day, Faith is supposed to be out. No. So she allowed me in, obviously, but she said, you're not going to, just so you know, you're just on there because, and guess what I said? I said, that's fine. I don't need to come out first third. I just need those judges to see me. And that's how I got to South Africa, though.
A lie.
Yes, honey.
Were you stunning at the time?
Well, it should depend on your definition of stunning.
There were girls. No, I feel like there are not models in Nigeria anymore. There were girls from way back that were, if it was now, they would compete with the Naomi Campbell.
Yes. We were all skinny. First of all, we're unfiltered, no makeup, no hair.
Yeah. Right?
You were hungry, so you had high cheekbones.
Right.
Like the real ones that yeah. Right. And then, of course, you can tell when people who are hungry spend time practicing their craft. Most of them they're on the phone watching catwalk instead of catwalking. So how do you learn how to catwalk? You're talking about what time were you trying to learn how to catwalk? 11, 12. 2 a.m. in the morning. How many of them would do that? If their parents are now more exposed, I'll say, okay, I'll take you to a modeling school. Like, oh, Mom, you're cutting out from my TV time. That's what you get now. Yeah. Or, Mom, it's not that deep. Yeah. Okay.
Do you think that people like us who are from where we're from and the strive and the things that we went through made us hungry and worked a little harder than the rest?
I think, I'll give you an example, right? So in the US, I always tell my son this. I said, there are 2 boys. They grew up with a drunk of a dad. One became a drunk and said, because, my dad was a drunk. And the other said, as my dad became a drunk, I wouldn't. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of people that, when you go back home, they're still there. Mm-hmm. And some of them had the same opportunity, but lost it. That's why I always say, remember where you're coming from. Whatever it is that you have to do to remind yourself to keep grounded, which is my younger ones, which is that conversation with my mom, which is my younger brother Victor calling me like, sis, you're out, it's 2 a.m. in the morning and he's in Vancouver. Yes.
Sister.
Yes.
This, remember where you're from, eh?
Yes.
I remember I had a whole club phase. Guys, you remember I had a whole club phase, right? And I think that at some point it was affecting my work. It was affecting everything, right? And one day I just remember saying, I don't know whose voice I was hearing, whether my granny or the Holy Spirit. I don't know who. I just looked at my life like, you think that you have arrived. You remember where you're coming from. The day when you go stop all of this work that you're doing, you're in trouble.
Yes.
Because you're not like them.
Yes.
And it's just, so every time I'm always, I mean, I think it's also evolved into anxiety because I'm constantly checking myself to know that, yes, you can have fun, you can enjoy
you have to.
the perks of this work that you do.
Yeah.
But this is off the work. That's why I will always show up and do the things that I do. You know?
I think till today, if I hear, I'm not a good dancer, I always tell people I cannot dance to save my soul. You don't even want to see me dancing. But if I hear Shonda Paul, that wherever I'm like, baby, that's my song, baby. I was going to night vigil to my mother, and I'm sorry, I'm that mom that will not lie that I got all first, this, that. I'll tell my son, my brother would tell my son that, do you think we haven't done it or your mom haven't done it? Yeah. She knows, except she doesn't want to say anything, you know. So we did have all that, and it's just like a little dose. I drink alcohol, but I'm not a drunk. I don't drink where I can't walk in a straight line. I don't do certain things. Now, I remember when we were young, I think we were 7 or 8 in the back of our house, you know, the roll like paper stuff.
I'm trying to smoke it, yeah.
And my grandma whooped my ass. Till today, I've never held cigarette or weed or anything till today. Like, it's not, come on, alcohol is still not, they're not supposed to.
When you went abroad, you never tried?
No. I would tell them, like, did you ever notice during the housewife, I would nurse 1 glass of wine, all 3.
Yeah.
Because my mother would tell, the first I sat out with my mom for the first time drinking. I was 29. No, there were white folks around, so they were talking. My Pekin. So they drink wine, eh?
I can imagine. So you don't open Irish where you drink wine.
Oh, Ethan was like 6 then-ish. So I was married at that time,
right.
Still. I said, Mommy, nah. Hey! Big mama. Sorry.
Because you know back then, I can never forget, my granny used to say that any girl they smoke, they drink a shower.
Yes. But I used to tell people, even Victor came to California a couple of weeks ago and we took him to a gun range. I'm a Texas girl first. I lived in Texas for a long time. And so shooting, the riding of horses, you know, and my brother Victor was like, only tea for police, the whole gun.
We still have those
but I did too. Like the first time I used to, you know, go, but
we have to agree that there's a lot of upbringing that was to protect us, not because they were right, though. There's some things that I had to shake off. You know, I realized that I was a little judgmental. I thought I wasn't judgmental, right? So when I was growing, and those things helped me at the beginning, right?
Okay.
But you know, the thing about judgment is that if those things happen to you, you don't realize that you're not also infallible.
Yeah.
You know, so there's some things that I did as my career grew. I'm like, you're not as great as you thought you were. You just were lucky that you had such upbringing. And that's great, right? Yeah. So I'm beginning to unlearn some things that were not good for me. They were there to protect me at the time. And I'm also now relearning, and I'm also so grateful for the things that I learned at the time, because
but I like that. I always tell people the fact that you realize that I have a problem, or you know, this is not good. You're humble enough to know that something got to change, right? I think that's self-care. And I think that's, you know, for a long time, people always say, if you have a lot to give, right, you should have a lot to say. Meaning, if you're wealthy, you should talk more, you should do this, you should do that. And you've had money misruled. So, you know, so I used to tell people then, I said, listen, you being wealthy, or you having what you have doesn't give you the right to tell other people how to live their life.
Right.
Meaning, you go on the street to see people how to make $1 million naira or dollars, and they're on the street hawking. And I'm like,
if I don't read the book,
why can't you read the book, right? So the way we were raised shaped us in the best way we can ever imagine. You're sitting down here because of the way you're raised. We're vibing now because of our grandma, because of these little perps. Right. And I would tell people, I said, do not raise a child that have to go through therapy. Right? Our parents didn't know better. So, but we don't have that excuse. We have social media, we have the internet. We ourselves are firsthand, experience when it comes to whatever it is that we think is okay for us to do. Our parents went through that. Their parents went through that. Yeah. But why should we?
Did you do therapy at some point?
I can't lie, I didn't. I didn't, not because my younger ones do, and there's nothing wrong with therapy. My son was called into a therapy office and like, hey, they've had this for years. He's a white kid. He's like, I need therapy. I go talk to my mama.
Right.
So because I was able to talk to my younger ones, like if I have a friend, honey, you're my therapy, you're my dancer, you're my gossip partner, you're everything. So that's why it's difficult for me to kind of say, this is my friend, right? So I didn't go through therapy just because I had people around me that I could unpack.
Yes.
And I didn't hold on to things. We're having a conversation the other day with my younger ones, and they're like, I need closure. I said, closure for what? You want to go back home to your aunties? What do you have to? They can't remember half the thing they did. Let me tell you what your best closure is. Forgive them. You're not forgiving them for them. You're forgiving them for you. Because, forgiveness is like a venom when a snake bites you. It's not the bite that kills you. It's the venom that kills you. So why do you have to go move around angry and, what's that face? So she's like, he's like, hallelujah, honey.
But I hear you. But for some people, it's different. They have to unpack the things. And one of the things that therapy did for me was this forgiveness thing you're talking about was, there's some people who had hurt me from like when I was much younger, things that were said. And my therapist was like, what if they didn't know what they were doing?
Yeah.
And that was the hardest thing to take in because, with unforgiveness, you need them to pay. You need them to suffer the same things that you suffered. You need to show them what they did to you.
Yeah.
What if they don't even know?
Because they don't remember. Half the time, they don't remember. Hurt people hurt other people just for that moment. It's the same when we're talking about upbringing, right? When we were younger, like when your auntie was hitting on you, it's because she was probably upset. Somebody got her mad. And she wants you to hurt as much as she's hurting. Not because she wants to teach you or tell you were wrong about doing something, wrong. So that's why I said, I don't have a problem with therapy. My younger ones have therapy. They do that. But I don't know. I said it on the show too. I said, my ex-husband, like, he's good. Like, he's married now. He's, we coexist. My kid is my most important, blessing in this life, right? And someone said, oh, but if I'm not with somebody, I want them to suffer. I said, why should I be worried about you? Yeah. Like, on to the next. Yeah. Like, you weren't for me and I wasn't for you, and the right person will get to you. The fact that you actually found love, for that. Some people will live their life and never find someone that will love them. Not for one day.
You did?
I did.
Tell me about that. Finding that. This was when you were already a superstar model in New York.
Well, yeah. I met him when I got back from South Africa. And remember we were talking about like the whole
modeling.
No, I think what they call it, ASU strike.
Right.
So they had a long ASU strike, and I wanted to go to South Africa with them. It was Fashion Week around that time, Joburg, and then Cape Town. Yeah. But I used to hear stuff about, passports, this, that. And I knew I couldn't go missing because I had 3 of my younger ones, back home waiting for me. So I was writing letters. The same House of Assemblies I'm going right now, writing letters for the kids to go have good education. I was writing letters, Abani just became Miss World. So people's eyes were open to modeling then in Port Harcourt was prostitution. You want to be a model? Like, are you a prostitute? Yes. Yeah. Your parents will hide, you were hiding to do that. Yeah. So I was writing letters, and one day my uncle that used to be a lecturer in Zaria, Madibale University, that's when I saw him after like 10 years. He was like working in one of their offices, and I said, my sister, These people no better, but they no go, So I went back home that day crying. I had about 1 week to actually get my ticket and, travel with them. And my neighbor's younger sister, a couple of weeks ago, couldn't pay for her WAEC. So I had like little spare this thing then, her friend was passing through looking for accommodation and wanted to just chill while, the agent got there and heard my story and gave me her rent. That's how I traveled to South Africa.
So she gave you a rent?
Yeah. Her name is Love. Love now works in New York. And once in a while, most people on social media follow me, you see me outright, I'm proud of you. Because people didn't tell us that enough. And she told me that. She said, I know you will bring it back. So I had Kola. Kola was our taxi driver. Kola used to take us to school. I didn't have enough money. So I had Emmanuel that's our last. He was in University of Abuja too, then diploma in law. So if I was going to leave, how was my brother going to, go to school and everything? So Kola said, Madam, don't worry. When you come, you pay me back. So.
Are you going to cry?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, friends.
Yeah. So most people pray that God should bless them, but they don't pray that God sends the right people to their life, not just to bless you, but when you're enjoying it, to have people who love you and you love too, So I had a lot of good people, like I said, from Morey to the photographer to someone that's never met me before, but because I was able to pay, I think then was 1,000 naira WAEC fee of her friend's younger sister. And that was 200 and something thousand naira then. Went to Joburg. I was hungry. And I remember, oh God, my mom was going to kill me. My grandma was the only person I told when I was about to go. I said, Mama, pray for me. They said, my pikin, I talk up. This whole body, they go, no go come back again. And of course, my grandma called my mom. My mom said, the snow is not even falling.
Which guy abroad with that one? Oh, I hate our people. I see there, they go down and say, which abroad did they go? It's not really from South Africa.
Yeah, so it was good. And I met Uncle Brian, that's Brian Opara. I met Bumi. I was able to meet a lot of people that kind of like, they were our older ones then.
But they were like mentors.
But they were mentors. If you were hungry, they would take you to places.
Yeah.
Like, because then it was the clique. This clique knew how much. And anybody knows that if I'm coming for an audition, they'll ask, Faith, how much are they paying us? Because I'm not entering that bus and I'm not going anywhere without being paid. I have mouth to feed.
Right.
I had taken my brother to Abuja and I was ready to take Lizzie out from Uniport to, Abuja too. So I had to pay bills. You see my telephone then had rubber band around it, so you're making that call, it's audition call, and I'm there. But you got to pay me half of my money first, just because half the time they didn't pay you your money. And so what are you going to do?
I feel like I'm very funny.
Yeah, so I met my ex-husband when I got back. A friend of mine then, she was also a model, and she was dating a Caucasian dude that was my ex-husband's best friend.
Right.
So Auntie Joanne had a show in Echo Hotels, and we were all there. And he's a cowboy, so yeah, it was something different. That's what I used to watch on TV. I was like,
You like
a cowboy? Yeah, it was different.
That's so crazy. So like, you come to Stubby, what happened?
First of all, he said, "Is that the fish?" Oh, growing up, you couldn't curse. That's why when I want to say something without kind of like stop, you couldn't curse. It was goat or fish. So most of my very good friends, if I hear fish, because I started from an insult to like a in-house name, fishy. So like, are you the fish? Say yes. Oh yeah, because they always, the boyfriend and girlfriend would probably kiss him, talking shit about me and everything. So yeah, it was like, oh okay. I have to go. Somebody was toasting me at that time and he was in Nigerian, of course. Right. So I had to go, came back. His own story was a crazy one because when I got back, I ordered jollof rice. He ordered fried. But when the food came, he said, no, he ordered jollof. And I said, oh, just bring the food. I'll
eat anything.
Girl, when you're counting in some and you're saying like fried.
Please. Just bring a good chop, with chips.
Bring this to let's eat. You're telling me, stay, yeah. So from there, then I saw a very pretty girl. Till today, I always stop. But I said, if I see a pretty girl, and that's why I don't know about self-esteem, because if I see a pretty girl, I'm like, oh, you're gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So I saw this very pretty girl, and she was with her friends, but you could tell she was the prettiest in the bunch. It's called Michael's. It's a little club that used to be Each Return Club, like lounge later on. And I took her to the bathroom. I said, hey, clean all those shine thing in your eye. That's why you're not seeing.
No, what's it?
Yes, I helped her clean it to her. She became my friend for a long time. She's married with 4 kids.
That's so sweet. The girls are at the girls. The girls are eating up the girls. Because if you're too fine for Lagos, it's also a problem. And I've never understood that. Like, if you find everybody hold their fineness, right? But I understand how the girlies can be with themselves, where they don't feel secure.
Yeah, but I always say something. Your grace and my grace is different.
Right.
You might be 6 foot tall, just like I am. But my mother used to say something: God will embarrass you with unlimited blessing. He said, my pikin, you enter the room where kings and queens will be. Let the rejected stone be the pillar of the house.
Let me be rejected stone. No. So I get it.
Yeah. So like it's I don't cut your paycheck. Like, go, if it's mine, it's mine. And in life, I'm sure you've had that situation where a guy tried to take your girl, and then later on it circles back to you.
Yeah.
Like, like
even works if when if said something about me that and after a while it just comes to me.
Yeah.
And I think throughout my life, right, I think the only time I've faced a brick wall is when I start to struggle. I don't struggle for things. God has always aligned my path, provided for me. And I think that's the grace that I really enjoy.
Yeah. It's just, and that's the only thing people say, let the grace of the Lord be upon. That's a good prayer. I'm telling you folks, like, you can have faith, but without God's grace, why do you think some people will rob for 100 years and never get caught? And then the first time you go there, you get caught.
You do, coach.
It's different grace, honey.
Speaking of grace and meeting your husband and marrying, so was it love at first sight? Did you want to marry him instantly, or you guys had to date for long?
Jeez, can't remember, but I liked him. I liked him because he was blunt. I like blunt people, folks who don't have to pretend. And I'm very blunt. That's why I don't have lots of friends, because I'll tell you, I'll just tell, like, if you don't like hearing the truth, don't
near me.
Don't come close to me,
Right.
And the same vice versa. I want you to hold me accountable. I want you to tell me the truth, right? I liked him. He was different. How many cowboys do you see in Nigeria?
So it was a cowboy, like with
They wear cowboy hats and cowboy boots. Yeah. With his jeans and, waggle shirt. Yeah.
So that turned you on. Friend, you guys, you're exotical. Now, what's he turned you on with that?
He stood out.
Love it. Tell me more, friend. It's your story to the sweet speak.
And then again, of course, as a young girl, then, how many people were you going to speak to that would take modeling as a thing, right? I couldn't get into University of Law. No, I couldn't get the law degree I wanted. At first, I got my admission in Nsukka University. And if you've been to Nsukka, there's one called Okwa. Oh, girl. I did see life. But they gave me architecture. And I'm not good. I can't even draw this cup correct.
Same.
So so I said no. And I had a friend then, Yemachi. She was also a secondary school mate. And she said, you can do 2 years here and then apply to get a 4-year degree, and you just start from year 3.
Right.
So that's what most people were doing,
Yeah.
So I went in there, was doing my thing once in a while. So he was, flying me to Lagos, we'll go out. Like, I was not going out with a man.
Yeah.
I can wear trouser. Okay. So again, when you speak to people tend to either they agree with you or don't, or either they dream. He was one of the first people, apart from my younger brother, that never thought that my dream wasn't reachable. And to me, I always tell people something. You might be handsome. If you're not intelligent, cannot have brain stimulation conversation. I don't care how rich you are, it's not gonna work. Like buy Oreos. That's a boring this thing right there. Because I like to sit down with conversation. We're watching a movie. What book are you listening to? That's
That's a real money misroad where you cannot.
Yeah.
With your money cannot.
Yeah. So he taught me a lot. He loved my younger ones immediately. And anyone, I also tell them, buy one, get one free now because you're getting my son. But then was buy one, get 3 free.
My granny used to call it "Love me, love my dog."
No,
As you date my granny, you go. All of us go there with the grandchildren, the children, all of us.
Yes.
It was the whole package.
Yeah. So and he wasn't afraid or anything. And again, like when I was going to my modeling, when we had New York Fashion Week, Auntie Joanne, he was the one that sponsored me. So yeah. My younger ones too. He was the one, I think, 2 of my younger ones that sent them overseas. So again, but at the end of the day, that's just life. God sends people to your life for a particular reason.
Right.
And you have to be ready. The only reason why you are where you are now is because you were ready. You had it all planned out. You were working towards it. So when the opportunity came, honey, and by the way, when I got to New York, I called my mama and said, it snows here.
Purr!
And every year till today, I go back to New York with my son.
In the snow.
Oh, yeah.
My friend.
Yeah. At first, my mom used to say, they have a family group once. My younger brother, Victor. Do you know that they think you're pushing drug? That they said there's no way he will be traveling to 4 different countries in a month. Because then our parents would travel overseas. I didn't see my mom till every 5 years, 7 years. I didn't see my mom after she left. My brother was going to 2 up until the bicycle day when we're leaving primary school. And I understand because she had to do that for us. We were able to afford private schools later because she did that. And I was able to meet the people I met and dreamt higher because of that.
But you know that where we're from, right? We are traveling. If you say you go stay,
they're not helping you coming back soon.
My granny used to complain that because all that money I used to travel, you can buy land. I say, Mommy, maybe that might be your dream.
Hi, Mommy.
I'm glad that she worked so hard to get me to this level. But you see the old dream that God has given me. I'm going to be globetrotting. I would travel how many times a year. So at the beginning it was a bit of an issue because I had to now explain to them that where I'm going to, people like me travel every other month.
Yes.
London, New York is not it's just we just went there, we came back. Right? I know that it's different. And so that's so amazing. So I want to come back to you getting married to this man and your auntie. How you teach shame, man? Please give me
I
that.
I didn't just shame only her. I feel
have to see you get belly.
There have been a lot of forgiveness, so I know my mom will not mind.
Yeah.
Again, we don't have any excuse, our generation, because we lived it and was seeing the possibility, and we can say because we went through this, my kid shouldn't. Right. So then, I was going to play basketball in Morrey with boys, and then later on I said I was wearing heels and shaking my little behind then, and then you're traveling to places that they don't know. And then my mom called me in South Africa then and said, hey, that's the highest place of HIV, just so you know. Yeah. So again, they didn't believe that anything could come out of modeling. And if at what age, like I'm telling you, my mom at this age is still telling me you're drinking alcohol. I saw you drank more than half the glass on the show, So they still are trying to tell us who we can be.
Yes.
Do you understand? And that's
that struggle as well.
And that's the thing. And the good thing for me was the school she sent us to that changed my life was Emerald. Those were kids. It's always boarding school we went to, and those were kids that literally they were too stubborn in the US or wherever, and they'll bring them here, and at night they will sit down and tell us about their lives. Oh, honey, those were more beautiful than TV.
Faith, let me tell you what you're doing to me right now. I feel so seen. Because now I give this. I didn't agree. As this, like,
tell me more.
Even my friendships were very aspirational.
Oh, yeah.
I always start with the people who I thought represented who I was going to be.
Yeah.
And my other people, my folks hated me for it because they thought I had an heir. But I didn't. I was a dreamer. I was Joseph in this page.
Yeah.
So I hear you.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, one of the things I'm doing now is to make space for the people who did not believe in me. You know why? That's all they could see. A good life to them wasn't what we saw.
But that's where that's why I'm saying that where forgiveness comes place. But remember, like for me, I'll always tell you, you're not God.
Yeah.
Like you will beat, they used to be, girl, they'll beat me like I'm a thief.
Yes.
Because because all they want you to say is that you've lied. But you could tell me to do anything. You cannot.
But you know how many people they broke?
Well, I know that.
This is why I left Morey early and I chose Unilag as opposed to going to maybe Delsware anywhere else, because I'm like, if I continue here, these people will break my spirits. And there are people's spirits that were broken.
Oh yeah.
I had a friend who finally moved when he was 28. He passed when he was 30. And today I feel so sorry. I wish that he never. So I'm just like, God, I know that I'm not better than that guy, but I left at 15.
Yeah.
So I was way ahead of him. He was trying to find his food. Like something happened, he fell sick, and he passed.
I tell my son, I said, baby, no, look at me, mama. Nobody can ever tell you who you be in life. Not even mama. Not daddy, no anybody.
You see, this is the way you talk to my friend.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad that also God kept me long enough to be able to get to this point. I'm not there yet. I'm 28. But to see this dream, I think one of my first. So I'm gonna tell you this because I told my friend and my therapist this thing, and she had been going to the UK for a while. But every time I would go to the UK, you know when you are in a city but you're not present.
Wow.
Because this thing was almost unachievable at the time when I was growing up, right? It was on my last trip to the UK. This was like my third or fourth time that I was able to. So I took a walk around to take in the city.
Yeah.
So the first time I looked like a fluke, saying, who does come, who does come. The second time, like this life is it really happening? But the third time, I took a walk around the neighborhood. I'm like, you did the shit.
Yeah.
Because it's now not a fluke again. It's not your reality.
But that's how I was talking about writing a bucket list.
Right.
Right. London Bridge is falling down.
It's not the London Bridge where I see. I don't believe
the day at home, I said, baby, London is the only place, and some other spaces where I don't like discomfort. But it will be raining in London, and I'll sit down like this. And my partner, my son, will be looking at me like I'm crazy. Like you're supposed to be worried about your edges and stuff. And I'll look at them and say, some people will never sit in this place or see this. It's only going to be the song. That's it.
Please, my sister, use your mic. But thank God for books. As I said, I did a lot of books, right?
Yeah.
And the books carried you into another world. But all you had was your imagination.
Yes.
You had not seen these things up close, right?
Or you had friends, like the rich ones that would want to, during Christmas, during boarding school, they would tell you, hey, the girl sitting down beside me, may her soul rest in peace, Chisom. Chisom I met Chisom from Bereton. Chisom were those ones that their parents had picked them up with Jeep and they would tell their driver to splash water on us when they're passing. We ended up in MRA together and I was the head girl, social prefect. At that time, you couldn't tell me anything. I was so confident that even if it was a governor's child, I'll tell you that what you can do, I can do. I was going to SS3 then, right? So when Chisom came, she was like, she thought we were going to fight it out. Chisom didn't understand one thing. I told her when I think I saw her in Silverbed when Ethan was 4 or 5 years old. She died a couple of years ago. Each time Chisom woke up, I would look at how Chisom fixed her bed. Each time Chisom was going to the restroom, it was like a whole festival. The way she would,
you know, one of the things that I think is it's a common denominator between me and you is that we were probably born in a different space than we should have been.
Yeah.
We're grateful for where we were born.
Yeah.
But there was something about us that refused to stay down there.
Mm-hmm.
So like, with TV, Because as a child, I could sing, act, dance. I was so talented. I'm like, I bet this one not life. This one not worry. I'm great.
Yeah.
But this is not what I'm about.
When Ethan is, his dad is great, but some of the things is like, oh, I want to go skiing, in the mountains, and it's like, you think you're the son of a California king? Eh? So I just call my mama.
I love it because my mama will indulge me. She's about that life.
I said, baby, where? I'm taking pictures. You're just doing it though, but you're going.
Let's talk about your son and and giving birth. Well, so after marriage, you have a baby almost immediately.
Oh yeah.
Were you worried about it affecting your career?
No, because you were more worried about making sure you married properly. Because you had to do traditional white court wedding for you to be told you are married. If not, your parents will still come home and tell you what to do. They'll tell you, marry complete. Oh, yeah.
The standards.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I was going to, my ex-husband moved I and my brother Emmanuel to Leeds City University, Ibadan. And going back and forth to go out, you drink. There was this club called Ruby's Club. I can't remember. Yeah. We'll go out.
Ruby, that's Caliente.
Yes, I wouldn't know.
No, but I met at the tail end.
Excuse me.
And there's so much history about Caliente. Yeah.
Excuse me.
So sorry.
So we were stakeholders there. So my ex-husband with his friends, go out, and that was when I drank alcohol for the first time. When you're married, you tried once, and you're going to school back and forth. I think Emmanuel knew I was pregnant before I did, because I started eating wraps of like fufu on the street, like all those folks, and I tried the test. We were shooting it was Musa that was shooting for one of this magazine. So I came back to the house, went to the company doctor, and I was going, okay, let me go for the shoot. Maybe I have malaria. It's been a while. I kind of had any of these symptoms. My way back, the doctor was like, congrats, you're pregnant. We only tried once. I said, it's not possible. My husband caught me 2 weeks later doing home test.
Caught?
Oh, yeah. So when I found out, of course, I was already, at that time, 4 months. And I was still,
flat.
Ruth, the owner of this laundry service, we're sitting down together for, I think it was one of this, what's that show that they had to do? A Rise fashion show just started where Beth was auditioning. Yeah. I got picked, but I looked at Ruth, I said, I don't think I'll be here, because the show was in 6 months. And of course, I was moving back. Went back that's how I moved to the US, to Texas. But it was a small farm I started from, in Texas. Had Ethan, I was alone. Visas, Nigerian getting visas, of course, is still a headache till now. So my younger ones that I wanted to move down there, we couldn't. My ex-husband was still working in Nigeria, oil and gas, so he would do 2 months here, 2 weeks there. When we had Ethan, my life changed. It changed. I thought I was grounded. I thought I was selfish, but in a way I wasn't, because I took care of my 3 younger ones, but I never knew love. Let's use that way.
Yeah.
True love, until I saw my baby. I used to be scared of holding kids, because when you drop them, that's it. We had Dio in our class, and he used to sometimes go into a slightly odd, And people used to make fun of him until his mom came one day in school and told us what happened. It was a nanny that dropped Dio. I never carried anyone's kid until I had my son, apart from my younger ones. So this is it. From our people, from watching TV from someone's window, from using Mpanaka to read, from all the hustle of staying 2 days in the bush because they are robbing us, the line in front of you. From you will have kids and you drop out of school to have kids, or you will not amount to anything. This is it. It changed me, literally. I always tell people, even to today, I'm not gonna end up you're not watching me ending up in an orange jumpsuit. No. I have a son that any decision I've made, we're speaking earlier about a housewife, and you talked about, how were you able to My son looks at me every day, and every class he goes to, a teacher knows that I have a collection, Morrey collection, or I was on a show. He said, you should watch my mama.
He's so proud of you.
Yeah.
And I feel like you raised, like, I feel like there's so much love that you poured into him.
Yeah.
Because even the way you talk about him, you know.
Yeah. I knew firsthand things I wish that we were given. And most parents think that it's about money or clothes or buying them the latest game. My son is grounded. Like, he has a couple of hours a day he can use his phone. And he's choosing between playing game, watching TV, or on his cell phone. And if he wants to earn extra buck, he has to follow me to, scout for stuff for Morrey collection. Right. And if he wants extra money, he can wash cars and then get it. Yes. Yeah. So
he's grounded. Like, you're grooming him to be a gentleman. Anyway,
Ethan.
You said he gets background.
He would tell his friends, like, you don't have a Nigerian mom. When he sees them acting crazy with telling their mom, you have hand, he would say, Mama. He's calling me in the restroom. Mama. I said, baby, you're supposed to play in there. Mama, hold on. He'll call the kid's name. Told his mom, she has a hand. I said,
I love it.
And he's like, Mama, I'm not done. He'll start laughing. I started laughing. He said, because you're fun. I said, baby, you're not going there again. I said, Mama, don't worry, hold on. He said, it's very uncomfortable to watch, but I'll tell you more. Yeah. You go, pew, you'll come back.
He's such a Nigerian child. Mama will raise all the way from Afikpo.
Every summer, he comes back to Nigeria to serve in the foundation, and we'll go back to where I'm coming from.
I love that.
So Ethan went to boarding school from the age 11, just like we do, right? And at first we started from the UK, and I would not tell you the amount of people who said, I could never believe in my lifetime you allow your son to go. And I said, sometimes it's not about a mother's love. Most mothers are selfish. They don't want their child to grow. They want their kid to keep depending on them.
That's crazy. That's actually true. Those are the ones that raised the mama's boys.
Yeah.
Okay, so I respect, what you would not speak on. But I'm also happy that this co-parenting is balanced, because sometimes when the mom is when the marriage is dissolved, the mother can hold the child back and use that to, torment the father.
My son still doesn't know. He'll be 14 in 2 months. He's never heard me talk about why. Can the kids be kids? Again.
And not put that pressure on
Don't
them.
put the pressure on, I came from a broken home, and I don't want my child to go through what I wish we did. Some people would like, you're there, like, Jean, like your father. That's why your father did this. Like, come on, why? Why do you have to do that on your kid? Do you love them? If you do, you know. That's why most kids end up going to therapy. Yeah. Because of that. Like, I'm sorry. No.
Girl.
Me, in the beginning, he would not pick the calls. He said, Mama, Daddy hasn't picked my call. Mr. Randy would be, it's true. I said, Mr. Randy.
Right.
Can you pick our son's call?
Yeah. I'm glad that
just lie you're on the water or whatever, because he's oil and gas too. Sometimes they're on the rig for like 2-3 weeks. I say, if you're with someone, just tell him you're on the rig. Yeah. But you're gonna send him a voice note when you're not gonna answer his call.
You have to show.
Yeah. Because when he's happy, I'm happy.
Okay, so being a single mom is hard, and you said something about the fact that when this child came out, you're gonna do everything to make sure that you provide for this child. Post the divorce, how was it easy for you to just keep it moving? Because this is you who was a model, who know how to raise a baby, and you probably you stepped back from modeling. I did for the longest. So picking yourself back up and say, you know what, I'm going to raise my child. I'm going to be a single mom. I'm going to do everything. How was that for you?
I always knew whether you're pregnant or not. And thank goodness for this generation that even with pregnancy, they romanticize, like they're very happy about it. They show it off, I didn't have a problem. I loved my body. I was expecting, first of all, I was scared because I didn't know I was 4 months pregnant. I remember it took me a while to kind of get used to having a child, and this kid came. But I already was a practicing mom because I took care of my younger ones. So it was easy for me, right? Like I said, he actually worked in Nigeria. So it wasn't really too much of him being present, but his mom was at that time. We were living on a ranch. Right. That's why I say I'm a country girl by heart, right? And I would say transitioning, I just wanted to spend as much time as I wish I had with my kid. And I knew when it changed for me was Ethan was about 4 or 5 going to 5. And I went to the doctors and they told me that I have cancer. Yes, most people didn't know about that. And I remember just looking at him and all I thought about was, what would people tell my child? Not the day I was buried, but what would be the story, the legacy I've left that my son would remember and people who are around me would tell him about his mom. At that time, I knew that I put my dream on hold. I was no more that Faith from Afipo dreaming. I was too relaxed on a ranch because I had lived, I thought that was it. So I told God, I said, God, if I go through this and I come out alive, I will never play small. God, come on. I didn't go through all of this just to, who's going to take care of my child? Like, come on. Then the movies we're watching in Nigeria at that time was if you died, your husband will marry someone else. That
maltreat your son.
You can't do that, God. God. They were calling me Legadis Benz because I had to walk miles to go to school.
And also, you've worked so hard. Like, why now?
So it was treatable for me. I didn't have to go to the crazy chemo and stuff. They just kind of did a few surgeries and I was fine. And yeah, that was a change for me. Went to school then, got my degree. And after then, took my son. We drove 5 days from Texas to California with nobody, nothing. Left everything because I didn't want anybody to tell me you stole my whatever, but I just made sure he knew that, hey, if you want a relationship with your child, let's talk about it. When I went to Cali, we had to start life all over again. Got a 1-bedroom flat. The room was the size of Ethan's closet from Texas. I just took him away from his dad. Was leaving, what do you call it, Nigeria? That's Viva Loca. Yeah. And we turned the living room to our room because it was also too small. I was a solar consultant, so most people don't know, but I used to knock door to door to sell solar panel. I didn't have a salary. I was being paid commission. And those neighborhoods you go to, that they'll call the cops. And one day the cop just went, "What are you doing here?" And I showed him a picture of my son. I said, my son thinks that the house I'm paying for through my eyes and tears, it's an Airbnb, and he's asking, when are we going back home? And that cop told me, he said, I have a daughter that I don't know if I'm going to go back home to see him every day. But that's the house. They used to release dogs to chase me in that neighborhood because I was Black. I live there now. That's my greatest flex.
Oh my God, your life is like, if we did a movie or do a book, it's to sell. Because there's so many stories. It's so packed. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Real Housewives.
Okay.
Did you get a call? Did you audition? How did you hear about it? Did you always want to be famous eventually?
I always wanted to be rich, to make money. Right. Remember, I wasn't married anymore. I have been a good mom.
Yeah.
I was ready to make money. I wanted to, and for you to make money, you have to make a name for yourself. Right. I wanted a platform.
Right.
And that's why I tell you, my younger brother, Victor, he called me and said, hey, I met this lady. She's a manager and I think she can get you your comeback. She's our age mate. Yeah. Gift. And we started working together, here and there. And she said, Faith, I know you're private, but the housewife is calling. She and there's another lady that we were all like friends. I think she was working with Gift. And I said, Gift, I don't want my business out there, you know. But then she said, look at it this way. Say, Faith, I've been with you from when you were hustling as a model with Auntie Joanne to when you got married to getting divorced and now trying to come back, you know. Come tell your story, not just your story, but for every girl in Afipo that wanted to leave and for some reason couldn't. Tell your story for every girl that they told that it wasn't possible. Tell your story to your son that anything is possible if he believes. I didn't also like the way that, you know, they portrayed us Black girls, especially like you watch TV in America. I used to watch Housewives until they started flipping tables. I watch reality shows to go to places that I saw. Remember, that's how I started my dream. Like I would have like paper and pen. When I see like a restaurant I like, I would take pictures and I'll write it down. You know, so I watch shows that make me dream bigger, basically. So when they did call, I was actually about to fly from London. I just dropped Ethan off. I was going to Paris, and he said, what are you bringing to the table? I said, me. Say, who are you?
What did you say? Say, who are you?
I said, it's Morey. I said, how do you handle yourself in conflict? Da, 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 da. I said, I just be me. I'm 6 feet. You know, I intimidate people already when I walk into a room, and I'm not going to play small, just so you know. So I guess I didn't think I was going to get it because the kind of questions they were asking, they weren't for the kind of person I was. I've already gone through refinement. I've gone through self-revolvement. You know, I've gone to, when I moved to Cali, I wanted to know who Faith was, not the mom, not the wife, not the sister, who I really was. So back to Faith from Afipo, who Faith wanted to be. Is she still there? Is she still in that lane? You know, so that's why most people look at me and say, hey, you know, nothing ever, you know, when they did all this stuff, I said, because I didn't know who I was. You're calling me fake. I know I'm not fake. You look at me and say, oh, she's broke, but she's the auntie. Am I going to pull out my bank account? Like, if you have to do that, you got a problem, insecurity issue. Because if you are okay, you don't have to prove to anybody you're okay.
It's crazy. Did you envisage, or did you ever think that the level of conflict that you met, you're gonna meet it at? What were you expecting when you got on the reality show? Because it felt like you had a lot of contention, right? And I would say that I applaud you for holding your own, because I never saw you break a sweat. I felt like I don't know what you had a script and you went in and you're like, you bitches, none of you are going to see me.
Excuse me.
I think you held your own. That's what I would say.
My real life is in California, and I know the people I sit down and go to gala with. Why would I have to act crazy on TV? And plus, I knew why I was coming back. I never did hide that. Remember, I was coming back to. This was a great platform for me to start up, you know, my life as a model, coming back as a designer, as a philanthropist, you know, and telling my story too, unfiltered, which I didn't have an opportunity to, you know, but this is real life. And you're in Lagos, you meet totally different. I don't know why people say, oh, it's unbelievable. The only reason why people say that is because there's a camera. And character is like pregnancy. You can hide forever, but at some point you're going to pop the baby out and people are going to see the real you, you know? So I just knew who I was. And to me, it's a job. It's like a cop. When you get home, you take your uniform up. I have my son there too, you know. Half the time, people were like, oh, why is she crying? Half the time I was either trying to pick my son up from the airport. And that was the first time he flew as an unaccompanied minor. So imagine like me I'm on set, I'm worried about my kid. And I was disappointed. I was really disappointed. I just thought these were like people I was going to come and learn from. They were mentors, you know, and they had their own thing going on. So again, small faith.
So you know, one of the things that I know, and when we're both in showbiz, right? And I think that when I watch reality shows, I feel like it's not that deep. It's everybody wants screen time.
That's what I learned.
So it's also depends on who you are as a person and what you would do for screen time.
Yeah, but I remember I wasn't in showbiz.
Right.
I left modeling like here when I was like 20.
And modeling is not that chaotic.
Well, behind the scene it was.
Yeah, but we're not playing for camera like that. When we're working, we're working.
Well, you have to get to the camera, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was it. Like, as a model, you already have gone through character development, right? Because you're going through like this thing. Everybody wants the same thing, right? And they will do anything to get what they want.
Right.
Remember, you had cameras on you for like 10 hours, 5 days a week. They were going to catch it. At some point when it was about to come out, I was kind of nervous. And my brother said, Chitro, is he AI? It's not AI now. Everything you did, you can hold it with your full chest. And with what you know, and what you've told us what happened. Like, when I come back home again, like, remember, I will speak to my younger ones. I'm like, people still do this? Like, I'm like, okay. All right. But this is not, So it looked like I wasn't talking a lot because I was being polite. Our mama taught us that if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. But you could tell with the way I sipped my wine or my facial expression, I didn't need to tell you much. Like, until today, that's what makes you a refined woman.
Right.
A refined woman doesn't go around poking and trying to call out people's fault and, what is good or bad about them. You should be able to mirror people. And I'm glad I did, because people get to I used to tell people, I say, I'm the first non-toxic housewife to break out of TV.
But one thing I don't understand is why you didn't come back again.
Okay, so remember I said something. I have friends and I have people I speak to, like my people, because I don't talk a lot. That's why you don't really know. People don't know things about me. If someone says something, I'll know who told you.
Because it's
right.
Small.
So So again, if I'm going to sit down to speak to you, I can remember our conversation 10 years from now, because this is the first time I'm actually opening up to. If anything is being added, I'll know. I'm like, you probably asked my brother, which would not say anything anyway. Yeah. But so when questions were being asked, and I always tell people, the most intelligent person is not the person that talks the most. You've seen billionaires, they just sit down quietly in one. And then you're acting a fool and they're making billions and they're getting ideas from you right there.
Yes.
My social etiquette class is because of the show. And I'm writing a book that is about to come out because of the show. And those were the things that I saw. And I knew that there was a problem. There's a pandemic in our culture. A Nigerian girl, like a typical Nigerian girl 3 years ago before the show, would think that it was cool for you to be mean.
Gossip Girl, XO. Friends, why did you not come back on the show? Why did you come back on the show?
He came back there. Okay.
For you to breathe like this, serious matter.
No, not really. You sign an NDA, that's one, so you have to be very careful what you say. But it wasn't even that, because I haven't signed anything. It was just the foundation, right? So when I started, I thought it was just going to be you give people money to do certain things and they would do it. But it doesn't work like that in Nigeria, right? And I was telling you earlier, I have over 8,000 kids that I've adopted. About over 6 schools we've adopted. So we're going from feeding programs to sponsoring the straight A kids, to doing competitions, to providing free teachers that will not teach them like art or home economics or computer science in this life of AI. Some kids have never touched computer before. You're going into a school and these kids, when it's raining, they are staying in the middle of the class because, it's going into their classroom, or the grass is growing in. I showed you a couple of pictures in the beginning and you're like,
Let's talk about the foundation, since you will not talk about why you were nuts.
See, people don't want to watch that on the Housewives. People go on the Housewives to watch a life that they wish they can have.
Right.
They don't want a reminder of what the reality is.
Right.
And yeah. So we could go back to that maybe another time, but I just wanted this time to give back and to structure the foundation in a way that people will also, and Housewives did give me that platform where there are some offices I'll go to, the ministry office, and the minister, of course, doesn't watch TV, so doesn't know who you are, but the secretary will be like, Amazon goddess, it's so crazy because my fan base, people think are young people, they're like,
older.
Yeah. So the platform is amazing, and it still is. Till today, still, open doors for me. We had a meeting with, I think it was Human Affairs, their office. And when I was done, and the lady said, So my PA briefed me before you came in here about who you are. So were you hiding that part of you? And I said, no, that's not the part that is here. I'm a different fossil. I'm a mom first, a philanthropy, I'm in showbiz, I'm a TV reality star, I'm a model, I'm an influencer, whatever pays my bill to donate back to, and give me the life I want with my son, and plus the foundation. So 20% of every business I have every month goes back to the foundation.
Right.
So right now we're talking about the foundation.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. We can do that over like drinks and coffee if you want, so yeah.
Yeah, I know you touched on the foundation now, but there's so much work that you're doing outside of, being a reality star. There's the fashion bit, there's philanthropy, there's businesses that you established. Can you give me like a proper understanding of where you are at now with work?
Of course, the foundation will always come first. It keeps you on your toe, but I know I have to put money in the foundation.
Right.
So one of our trainers' work, but also very fulfilling, is being able to come up with a manual for our social etiquette class that is about to, come out there. So stay woke. You'll be seeing like a book from us, just to like give people an example, because people think social etiquette has to do with money or wealth. Remember, our story from the beginning is learning how to walk at first. You did that at 11 p.m. You didn't need money to do that. Learning how to talk, learning how to fit into different circles, right? Learning how to iron your $10 or $20 shirt and come out looking like you're wearing like a multi-billion-dollar, outfit. So basically, that's what refinement and social etiquette is. And it's just your manners also, how to say thank you, please, when you go out. Stop looking like you have a hunchback, how to sit down properly, how to walk into that interview and make it feel like you belong in that room, which is what the housewife or people were able to see. Is like, how are you able to do that? That's refinement, Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter where you're from.
It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't take anything from you to sit down straight. Like, do you need to go to a class to do that? Right now, people have YouTube. People have Google. You can see stuff and learn stuff. We didn't have it then. It was just TV we're learning from. So that's where we are now. And I think, I'm not sure by the time you drop this, we probably will have something out there. For the foundation, we are adopting 2 more schools in Lagos. And we'll start collaborating right now with the police department, bringing creativity to school. So we had a art competition a couple of months ago in one of our schools, and the top 3, we took them to the movies. And I remember when I was saying movies, my volunteers were like, movies? I never went to a movie until I traveled to New York. And remember, most of these stuffs we dreamt about was through movies. I need them to see that it's possible. So there was a kid that it's in Port Harcourt Primary that during his lunch break, he drew Tinubu. And I'm telling you, I can't even draw sunglasses properly. And, so we started, okay, maybe we'll start giving out, looking for like art mentors, giving them sketchbooks, So we start doing programs like that where home economies too. We have this free summer school coming out for over 200 kids in Port Harcourt, minus the academy part of it, which is Mondays and Wednesdays. Fridays are club days. When people talk about summer school in the US, you're talking about doing fun activities, right? So they have candle making, diffuser making, home economies where they're baking, sewing. They have designers that we're collaborating with. We have martial art that's teaching them about patience, posture. You have photography. Right now photographers are probably eating your money too. So these kids are being groomed from the age of 10 to join, crimes. But if they know they can make something now. There's a young girl, she's 15, that makes a backpack for OCF. And she started making backpacks and lunch boxes when she was about 6, 7. So skill acquisition. So basically, so that's where our Morey collection is rebranding, and we're going with timeless pieces. As I get refined, as I learn more things, and my brand grows also. So we're looking forward to that. We'll have a couple of capsule pieces with 1 or 2 collections every year, but that will be like our signature pieces. But I'm hoping that by December we'll be able to like have that out. Solar company, and I still work as a solar consultant. That's how I make good money to be able to live my lifestyle and that of my son. And what else do I do again? Being a mom. Yeah.
Wow. Faith, this was a whole conversation. I really respect you and your journey and your trajectory, and I'm looking forward to like the things that you would do, because I feel like you're a very intentional person. Thank you for sharing your story on.
Well, thank you for having me.
Tea With Tay Pod.
Yeah.
It's like over 2 hours. This is the longest conversation of the season. But yeah,
but you warned me before we started. I said, Faith, I want to see the human part of you. And my manager also told me, and I remember I was like, oh my God, I have to like, what if he asks this? And like, Faith, just this is why we're doing what we're doing, you know. And I did watch a couple of your episodes. It's about real life, people's story, real conversations, and we
never put you in a position where like you'd be uncomfortable. I'm glad that you were comfortable enough to share, and I think that anybody who's watching this episode or listening would take a lot from it and be so inspired. Because even me, I feel seen and feel very inspired to do more.
I'm glad. Thank you. And you too.
High five. Thank you so much. And that, guys, that's the end of the episode. Oh God, I loved it.